Information-fueled.
Opinion-driven.
This is Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis.
And so, my fellow Americans,
we talk news.
5:06, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to your friends. How are you? It is Tuesday, March 25th. Hope you are doing well. Journalist Jeffrey Goldberg was somehow accidentally added to and I'm air quoting this, a top secret group text revealing Donald Trump's war plans. Of course, this is all over. I guess this broke at some point yesterday. Now, if you're going to add someone accidentally to a group text of Donald Trump officials, the last person you want is Jeffrey Goldberg from The Atlantic. This dude is a Trump hater through and through. He is notoriously anti-Donald Trump, as is The Atlantic. And Jeffrey Goldberg is the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic. And so Fox News puts it this way. Jeffrey Goldberg, the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, made the jaw-dropping revelation on Monday when he found himself added to a conversation on Signal, an encrypted yet commercial messaging app. So you've got National Security Advisor Mike Waltz and a whole bunch of other folks. You got Waltz, you've got Marco Rubio, you've got Pete Hegseth, you've got Tulsi Gabbard, you've got a whole bunch of folks that are on this group text. And there is Jeffrey Goldberg, this Trump-hating liberal, and he's just lurking. And he's not telling people that he's there. He's not telling people that somehow he has been added to this discussion. So now everyone is trying to figure out what in the world happened. Secretary of State Pete Hegseth has a thing or two to say about this. He was asked about this whole story as it broke yesterday.
You're talking about a deceitful and highly discredited so-called journalist who's made a profession of peddling hoaxes time and time again, to include the hoaxes of Russia, or the fine people on both sides hoax, or suckers and losers hoax. So this is the guy that peddles in garbage. This is what he does. I would love to comment on the Houthi campaign.
Right. And so Pete Hegseth, by the way, he is absolutely correct. You look at all of the hoaxes that have been perpetuated against Donald Trump, and Goldberg has either been a big-time pusher of those hoaxes, or he's actually started the hoaxes. And so this is the guy that started the whole Donald Trump called dead military veterans suckers and losers hoax, which has been, in my opinion, proven to be a hoax. There were people there that have said that that actually never did happen. He also reported that Donald Trump said that he wanted the kind of generals Hitler had. And so this guy is an anti-Trumper through and through. But one of the things that the left is saying is, well, nobody has actually denied that this actually happened. And guess what? He does have the receipts. I mean, he does have the images of these text messages that were going back and forth when President Trump was planning on bombing the living crap out of the Houthis, which is exactly what he should have done. And so The Atlantic has traditionally been incredibly anti-Donald Trump, reporting on Donald Trump's so-called Russian collusion and a myriad of other things. Of all people, Jeffrey Goldberg in The Atlantic accidentally put on this text thread. And so part of what's going on now is Democrats, they see an opening to go after Donald Trump. They see an opening to go after Republicans. They see an opening to take the focus off of their civil war, off of their bad behavior and their low approval ratings to go after Donald Trump. And so Goldberg, of course, was on CNN last night. He was asked about Hegseth's comments and others who have been denying that this has actually happened. This is part of what he had to say.
Nobody was texting war plans. Given you were privy to this group chat, is that how you saw it?
No, that's a lie. He was texting war plans. He was texting attack plans. When targets were going to be targeted, how they were going to be targeted, who was at the targets, when the next sequence of attacks were happening. I didn't publish this, and I continue not to publish it because it felt like it was too confidential, too technical, and I worry, honestly, that sharing that kind of information in public could endanger American military personnel. But no, they were plans for the attack. They were texted before the attack.
So here's what's out there. What is out there, and you just heard Goldberg say that he did not publish the minutia, the idiosyncrasies, the real specific plans, he says, that could impact national security and the lives of our military. But he did publish parts of the conversation that, at least to me, look legit. Now, whether or not they actually are, is up to you to believe. But for Mike Waltz, and he's the one who apparently added Jeffrey Goldberg to this text, I mean, it's a bad day for him yesterday. Because he apparently is the one that put Goldberg on the chat initially. Again, I can't frame this enough. Goldberg is public enemy number one against Donald Trump. There's some people that are saying, by the way, that there's no way that this was an accident. There are some people that are saying that with Goldberg, he's got ties inside Donald Trump's White House. He's also got ties inside the intelligence community. And so somehow, some people are saying somehow, Jeffrey Goldberg managed to infiltrate this group text chat. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but the bottom line is it does look like he's got the goods.
And there were things texted that you viewed as so sensitive, you did not even publish them in your report today.
I made the decision that the technical aspects of this, including what kinds of weapons packages, the attack sequencing, and so on, that's not necessarily in the public interest. What's in the public interest is that they were running a war plan on a messaging app and didn't even know who was invited into the conversation. I mean, it's an obvious, ridiculous security breach. And, you know, he, if you notice, he didn't actually answer the question.
So here's my question. Jeffrey Goldberg, if he was accidentally put on this, how did that actually happen? Was there another person whose name started with J that was in Mike Waltz's phone or whatever that was supposed to be included here? Is there another person named Jeff? I don't know, but a couple of different things can be true. Goldberg can be a discredited wannabe journalist. He's actually a hack and a narrative peddler for the left, who everyone acknowledges is just an anti-Trump zealot. And yes, it is possible that they accidentally included him on these chats.
I thought it was a hoax. I thought somebody was trying to entrap me. Again, could it have been a foreign intelligence service? Could it have been a gadfly organization that tries to entrap journalists, which we know happens? I didn't know what it was or who it was. But what I did know was that the obvious answer was that this is a real conversation of the national security leadership of the United States. Seemed improbable to me, because why would they do it on Signal? Why would they do this on a messaging app? And why would they invite the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic to watch?
Here's my why. Why didn't you immediately remove yourself from the chat? But obviously, he saw a story, and he stuck with it. He says that there are a total of 18 people on this group chat, and he says that nobody even noticed that he was on the chat or that he eventually removed himself from the group. Got a couple more things on this straight ahead. It is 5:15. Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is time to check the roads.
No problems on 24 this morning. Looking good on 65 as well. Got that road work on 40 this morning at Donaldson Pike at I-40. It's the road work to install what they call a diverging diamond, and that should be there at least for another year out there at the airport. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joe. And 5:15 as far as your weather today, a high of 73 and mostly sunny. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So maybe Jeffrey Goldberg is lying.
I do have a little bit of information for you.
That's a pretty big lie. But go ahead, Joan.
Yeah, the Daily Wire is saying that it is possible that Waltz thought that he was adding the Trump trade negotiator Jamison Greer, because they both have JG.
Remember what I was saying earlier? I don't know if you heard my monologue, but I was thinking, okay, so who was supposed to be on that text?
Yes.
That was not. Somebody whose name started with J.
So Jamison Greer is a trade negotiator.
Yep.
So maybe, I don't know, like trade negotiator, war plans?
Now, is the Daily Wire, because there's some people that are saying that this whole thing is a ruse, that
yes.
Goldberg is making this whole thing up. It seems like that seems like a pretty big lie, and it would definitely be provable if he was lying. He's got images. I'm assuming that it's on his phone. He says that this actually happened. He says that nobody within the Trump administration is actually denying this happened. You've got some within the National Security Council and intelligence and military apparatus that are saying that the text messages themselves, even though they were on Signal, that it does look legit. So, I mean, I read a lot of conservative media. What are they saying? Are they saying, because I watched Hannity last night, and nobody seems to be saying that these are not real.
Right. They're going along with it. So does it make you wonder, are they going along with it so that they can investigate and find out what the origin of this story is?
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like they did roll over pretty quickly, and I don't know if that's taking accountability. Good for them if that is the case.
Or they're just like, oh, crap. All right, we shanked it.
Yeah.
We were on Signal. Shouldn't have been on Signal. There's got to be some sort of an app that they use that is more secure than Signal. I mean, you would think.
You would think, yes.
But this is the government, so who knows? By the way, a couple of things in reading the chats. How far have you delved into this, Joan?
I mean, a little bit.
I thought it was interesting that J.D. Vance was against the president on this attack on the Houthis, but he was willing to, show a united front, which is, something a vice president is supposed to do. He also said, I'm tired of bailing out Europe on these kinds of things.
Yes.
Totally get that as well. People within the world of intelligence say that it wasn't good that Goldberg was included on this group text, obviously, but the information that he received wasn't actually top secret intelligence, just a discussion of plans. Now, I don't know, because he hasn't published what he says was top secret. So we'll never know whether or not, unless he publishes it.
Yeah.
We'll never know if what he was privy to was top secret or not. President Trump, though, here's where a big mistake was made. President Trump was asked about this. Apparently, he was just finding out for the first time in front of the media. He was doing a press conference. I believe this was a press conference related to tariffs and the economy and some investments that Hyundai is making into America, which I'm going to get into. But Trump was blindsided by this. This is how it sounded.
I don't know anything about it. I'm not a big fan of The Atlantic. To me, it's a magazine that's going out of business. I think it's not much of a magazine, but I know nothing about it. You're saying that they had what?
They were using Signal to coordinate on sensitive materials and
having to do with what? Having to do with what? What were they talking about?
With the Houthis.
The Houthis? You mean the attack on the Houthis? Well, it couldn't have been very effective, because the attack was very effective. I can tell you that. I don't know anything about it. You're telling me about it for the first time.
Yeah, somebody's going to have a very bad day. I don't know whose job it is to tell Trump, but somebody should have warned him. Do we all, sure, whether or not the story is real or not, or, well, the story itself is real, but whether or not there's validity to the story, somebody should have warned Donald Trump. But realize, I mean, his day yesterday, I don't know if you how close attention you pay, Joan, to Trump going from room to room, meeting to meeting, because yesterday he had, and I'm just going off the top of my head, he had all of his cabinet in a meeting that was lasted, I think they said 45 minutes to an hour. He had a cabinet meeting. That was number one. That was televised or, streamed or whatever it was. Then he goes into another meeting with Hyundai, and you had this announcing of this big deal that Trump has come to with the South Koreans to have Hyundai build some cars here, manufacture some steel here as well. Very big story, and I'm going to get to that as well. So he's bouncing from meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting. So they may not have had the opportunity to tell him, hey, look, this is what's up. And he found out about it for the first time, supposedly, right there within that meeting. But here's the thing, within that press conference. But here's the thing. Putting all of that aside, whether or not they should have been doing this whole thing on this commercial text messaging app, or the fact that they accidentally included public enemy number one Jeffrey Goldberg, put all that aside. It was a successful attack on the Houthis. That's number one. Number two, it was the right thing to do, clearly. And number three, just make sure that when your snarky liberal friends come up to you today and they start trying to poke you about, Trump and, the messaging app and the top secret information and all these other things, just say, you know what? Number one, mistakes happen, but let's look at all of the other positive things that are in the news today regarding Donald Trump. And I'm going to talk about all of them straight ahead on Nashville's Morning News. By the way, you want to hear the most tone-deaf comment of the day regarding all this? Do you know who CNN went to comment on this particular story, Joan?
Can't even imagine.
You're not going to believe it, even when I play you the audio, and it is coming up next. It is 5:22 on Nashville's Morning News on WTN. Joan Jones has the news at 5:30.
So what's with all the graffiti in East Nashville? We'll take a look. Also, a little girl is rescued from her kidnappers in Kansas. Wait till you hear this story. That's all coming up here at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Be in the know. Rely on Super Talk 99.7 WTN for all the latest news and information.
The award-winning Ken Weaver and Joan Jones bring you news weekdays at the top and bottom of every hour.
And breaking news when it happens. Also streamed live on the Super Talk 99.7 WTN